Object-oriented programming is often the most natural and pragmatic approach once you get the hang of it. Object-oriented programming languages allow you to break down your software into bite-sized problems that you can solve one object at a time. Understanding this, we have come up with this tutorial on object-oriented programming in Python. Now, before we go ahead with the session, I'd like to inform that we have launched a completely free platform called as Great Learning Academy, where you have access to free courses such as AI, cloud, and digital marketing. You can check out the details in the description below. Now we'll head on to one of the most important concepts in Python, which is object-oriented programming. Now, when you look around you, you would see that you are surrounded with objects. The laptop which is there in front of you, that is an object. The phone which is there in your hand, that again is an object. The bottle which is there beside you, that again is an object. Now, if you'd want to represent all of these real world objects in the programming paradigm, you would need an object-oriented programming language. So you would have a lot of object-oriented programming languages, and Python is also an object-oriented programming language because it allows us to represent all of these real-world entities in a programming world. Now, to understand the concept of object-oriented programming, we would need to understand two main components of it, which are classes, and then we obviously have objects. So let's start with this term called as class. So what exactly is a class? Simply put, you can consider a class to be a template or a blueprint for real world entities. And we have a very simple example over here. Let's take the example of a phone. Now, when we talk about a phone would again have two things associated with it. It will have some properties and it will have a certain behavior associated with it. Now, when I say properties, the phone will have a color associated with it. The phone will have a cost associated with it, and the phone will also have a certain battery life associated with it. And along with these batteries, when I say a phone will have certain behaviors associated with it. Now, what do I mean by behaviors? I simply mean that with the help of a phone, you can make calls. With the help of a phone, you can watch certain videos on it. And also, some phones allow you to play games in it. So this class, this phone class, has properties and behavior associated with it. And what exactly is a class in Python? You can consider this class to be a user-defined data type. So as we have predefined data types, so we had looked at all of these predefined data types, which were integer, float, boolean, and string. So similar to these predefined data types, we can create a user-defined data type, and that user-defined data type will be this class. So here what we are doing is we are creating this class, this user-defined data type called as mobile. And this user-defined data type will have attributes and methods inside it. So these attributes are nothing but the properties of the class, and these methods are nothing but the behavior of the class. Now that this is clear, let's understand the next component of object-oriented programming, which is object. So we already know what is a class. Now, object is nothing but a specific instance of a class. So when we say we have a mobile class, the specific instances of this mobile. So we have Apple, Motorola, and Samsung. So Apple, Motorola, and Samsung would be objects of this class, phone or mobile. And if you want examples of what exactly is an object, so as we have these predefined data types, so these are integers. So A is an integer variable and I'm storing the value 10 inside this. Similarly, B is an integer value and I'm storing the value 20 inside this. So similarly, if we have the mobile data type, then for this mobile data type, we have the objects Apple, Motorola, and Samsung. So that was a brief intro to object-oriented programming. Now let's see how can we actually create a class in Python. So to create a class in Python, we'd have to start off by giving this keyword called as class. Then going ahead, we will give in the name of the class. And by convention, you would have to remember that the name of the class needs to be capital. The first letter has to be capital. So that is why we have given capital P over here. So the name of this class is phone, and inside this we are defining two methods. So with the help of these methods we can have the behavior of this class. So I am having this first method called as make call, and inside this method I'm just printing out making phone call. And over here, as you see, this method takes in a parameter which is self. So for now, just understand that with the help of this self parameter, we will be able to invoke the attributes which are present in this class. Just understand this for now, and as we'll go ahead through object-oriented programming, it will be much more clear to you guys. So as we have created this particular method, similarly we will create another method called as play game, and this again takes in one parameter which is self, and all I'm doing is printing out playing game. So now that I have created my blueprint or my class over here, I would have to create a specific instance of it. Or in other words, I'd have to create an object of this phone class. So I'll just write down phone over here and I will store it in this object called as P1. And now that I have the object of this class, I can go ahead and invoke the methods which are present in this class with the help of this object. So when I type in p1.makeCall, with the help of this, I will be able to invoke this method and I am printing out making phone call. Similarly, when I invoke p1.playGame, I am invoking this method and I am printing out playing game. So this is how we can create a class and an object in Python. So let's go to Jupyter Notebook and work with this example. So my task would be to create a class. So I'll have class. I'll give the name of the class as phone. I'll give in a colon over here. And after this, I would have to create a method. And to create a method, we already know that we will be using the def keyword. And I will give the name of this method as make call. And we know that this takes in only one parameter, which is self. And inside this, I will just have a print statement, which will be making a phone call. And once I have this method, I will go ahead and create another method over here. So I will call this method as play game, def of play game, and I'll have self over here. Again, I'll have a print statement, and here I will write down playing a game. So I have created my phone class over here, and now that I have created this phone class, I would have to create an object of this. So here I will have P1 is equal to phone. So I'll have to give in parenthesis over here, and this is how I am creating an object of this phone class. And now that I have the object ready, so with the help of the dot operator, I can invoke both of these methods. So I'll start off by invoking the make call method. So I will have make underscore call. And when I hit on run, you would see that I have successfully printed out making a phone call. Similarly, now when I have p1.playGame, you would see that I have printed out playing a game. So we have created our first class and we have also created the object for this class. And now, in the methods which were present in the previous class, there were no additional parameters. We had only one parameter known as self, and with the help of that self parameter, we were just able to access the attributes which were present. And we did not actually have any attributes in the previous class. So we will modify that. So to our phone class, or actually the methods which are present in our phone class, we will be adding some additional attributes. So we are adding a new method over here called as set color, and this set color method over here takes in two parameters. The first parameter is self because it is compulsory. Then we will have this new attribute called as color. And with this color parameter, what I'm doing is I will have an attribute called as color, and I am assigning this color to the attribute color which is present in my phone class. Similarly, I have another method called as setCost. This again has two parameters. First is self because again it is compulsory. Then we have this additional parameter called as cost. And I would also have an attribute called as cost in the phone class. And what I'm doing is I am assigning this value of cost to my attribute cost in the phone class. So now that I have assigned the value of color and cost to my attributes, what I'd have to do is show the value of color and show the value of cost. So now that I have set these, I would need two methods to show the color and show the cost. So that is why I will create a new method called as show color, and this only has the self attribute or the self parameter over here because I'm not assigning anything and all I have to do is return the value. And if I have to return the value, I'll just use this keyword return and I'll print out return self.color. Similarly, if I would have to return the cost, I would have this new method called as show cost. This takes in only one parameter, which is self, and I'll go ahead and return. Here, as you see, I will have return self.cost. And these are the additional methods which I have, and then I have the same methods which are make, call and play game. And inside make call, all we are doing is printing out making a phone call, and inside play game, all we are doing is printing out playing a game. So let's go ahead and modify our phone class which we had created earlier. I'll delete these records from over here. Let me cut this entire thing, or actually I can write it over here itself. So these are the methods which were present earlier. I would have to add 4 more methods inside this. So to create a method, we would have to use the def keyword, and I would have to set a color to the attribute. So I will use this method called as set color. The first parameter is self because it is compulsory. Then I will have this additional parameter called as color, and I am assigning the value of this color to the attribute color by using the self attribute or the self parameter which I have passed in. Now similarly, I will have another method over here. So as I have set the color, similarly I would have to set the cost as well. So def, I will have a new method called as set cost. This would take in 2 parameters. The first parameter would be self and the second parameter would be equal to cost. And over here I will write down self.cost is equal to cost, and this is how I'm assigning the value of cost. And after this, I would have to print out the value of color and cost. I would need one method called as show color, and the parameter will only be self. And what this does is it would just return out the color. So it will be self.color. Then I would need another method called as show cost, and this again would take in only one parameter which is self, and with the help of this I am returning out the cost. So here I will have self.cost. So these are the 4 additional methods which I have added inside this. So it seems that we have an error over here. Let me see what exactly is this. So this is line number 7 and this is set.cost. So here I would actually have to give in a comma instead of full stop over there. And now we see that we have successfully created this. Now after creating this class, I would have to create an object. So I will have p1 is equal to phone. And now that I have created this object, with the help of this object, I can access these methods and assign values to the color and cost. So I'll just invoke p1 dot set color, and I will set the color of this phone to be equal to, let me keep it blue over here. Now similarly I will also set the cost of it. So I'll have p1 dot set cost, and I will set the cost to be equal to, let's say, $999. Now that I have set the value of color and cost, I can print out these 2 values. So let me delete this. So I will have p1 dot show color, and now when I hit on run, you would see that the color is blue. Similarly, when I have p1 dot show cost, you would see that the cost is equal to 999. So this is how we can have additional attributes and pass in values to the attributes which are belonging to a class with the help of these additional parameters. Now there's a special example or a special concept in object-oriented programming which is known by the name of a constructor. So if you have worked with other languages such as C++ or Java, And if you have learnt about the concept of inheritance, you would know about a constructor. So normally in C++ or Java, a constructor is a special method which would have the same name as that of the class, and this would help us to initialize the values of the attributes during the object creation itself. So that is what a constructor is in Python itself. It's just that the constructor in Python, the name of this method will not be equal to the name of the class. So the constructor in Python goes by the name of init method. So here, as you see, this is our constructor. We have our init method over here, and I have def. So init, we have the prefix of 2 underscores, and also after init, we will have 2 underscores over here. So we have our constructor ready. And as I've told you, with the help of a constructor, we will be able to assign values to the attributes during object creation itself. So obviously we will have some parameters inside this, and with the help of these parameters, we'll be able to assign values to the attributes. So in this employee class, let's say I would have 4 attributes called as name, age, salary, and gender. So I'll have these 4 additional parameters over here, and I am assigning the value of name to this attribute. Similarly, I am assigning the values of age, salary, and gender. Now that the constructor is ready and I have assigned the values, I would have to show the values out. And to show the values, I have this new method called as employee details. And I will create this method like this. So I'll have def employee details, and I will pass in self inside this because I'm not assigning anything, and this is the default or and we definitely have to give in the self parameter inside this. And inside this method, I'm just printing out the name of the employee, the age of the employee, the salary of the employee, and the gender of the employee. And once we create this class, we will go ahead and create an object of it. So here, when we are creating an object, as you see, we have E1 is equal to employee, and during the instantiating of the object itself, as you see, I am passing in the values for all of the attributes. So as you see over here, the name, I am assigning the name to be equal to Sam. Similarly, the age, I am setting it to be equal to 32. Then the salary, I am setting it to be equal to 85,000, and the gender, I am setting it to be equal to male. And this is how I am assigning all of the values during instantiating of the object. And once I have created the object, and since I have also given all of the values to the attributes, I can directly invoke the employee details method. And when I invoke the employee details method, you would see that I am able to print out all of the details. Name of the employee is Sam, age of the employee is 32, salary of the employee is 85,000, and gender of the employee is male. So let's go to Jupyter Notebook and implement this concept of constructor. So I'll just add this comment over here, constructor, and I will create this new class. So I will have class employee, and inside this I will go ahead and create the init method. Def, I will have 2 underscores, then I'll write down init, then again I'll have 2 more underscores over here. So I'll start off by giving the self attribute inside this, then I will start off by giving the name attribute, then I'll give in the age of the employee. After this I will give in the salary, and then finally we have the gender of the employee. And all I have to do is assign these parameters to the attributes which are present. So I will have self.name is equal to name, self.age is equal to age, self.salary is equal to salary, and self.gender is equal to gender again. So I have created this constructor over here. After this, I would have to create a new method called as show employee details. Let me just write down the name of this method. So I will have show employee details, and this will have only one parameter, which will be self. And inside this method, I'm going to print out all of the values of the different attributes which are present. So I'll start off by printing the name. So I'll have name of the employee is, I'll have self.name, then I will have age of the employee is, here I'll have self.age, then I will have salary of the employee is, here I will have self.salary, and finally I will have gender of the employee is, and here I will have self.gender. So let me hit on run, and I have successfully created this class where I have a constructor inside this. Now I can go ahead and create an object of this. So I will have E1 over here, and what I will do is I will give in the name of this class, which will be employee. The first value inside this should be the name of this person. So let's say this employee's name is Sam. Then Sam is 28 years old, and let's say Sam earns around $75,000. Let's make this $75,000, and Sam is male. So I have created this object over here. Now that I have assigned all of the values, I can go ahead and invoke the show employee details method. Here I will have E1 dot show employee details. And when I invoke this, you would see that I have this result. Name of the employee is Sam, age of the employee is 28, salary of the employee is 75,000, and gender of the employee is male. This brings us to the end of this tutorial on object-oriented programming in Python. Now, before you guys sign off, I'd like to inform that we have launched a completely free platform called as Great Learning Academy, where you have access to free courses such as AI, cloud, and digital marketing. So thank you very much and have a great learning ahead.